Good evening and welcome. Just in case you're tired of Karen Reed, I thought I'd bring you a little bit something different. Right back to true crime and legal updates, usual Tuesday night. I do have two cases for you tonight that need to have a little bit of an update. Uh, Welcome, those coming in. It's nice to see you. It's really good to see you. Those coming in get to vote on what we're going to do first. If you saw the thumbnail, then you know we're going to be talking about P. Diddy, the diddler, Sean Combs, who entered jury selection yesterday. And there's some news there that I'd like to talk to you all about. And also the last trial we all covered together, day in and day out in Arizona, with Lori Vallow Daybell. And well, it appears, that, well, she not done. She not done. So, all of you between Twitch and X and here on YouTube, who do you want to start with? Of the two, I'm only doing two tonight. So, hey, Couch, thank you for holding down the Twitch over there. And I don't blame you. Says, I am in fact somewhat tired of Karen Reed. You know, me too. But I'll be setting up for tomorrow morning and we're going to continue. We're not going to let her push us away from true crime. We're going to finish. Diddler, Grace got first vote in, and welcome, Grace. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the honoring, Shill. Always appreciated. You know what? Mippet, you want Diddler too? And hello? Okay. You know, I want to give that let me talk for a few minutes then, because I want to make sure, if Mrs. C is around, she pop in. Diddler's her favorite too. So, all right, I'll give you just a minute. But that is a case, you guys, that's a federal case out of New York. It is not a state case. It's a federal case for RICO charges in sex trafficking charges. He's facing 5 charges, originally 3. The RICO racketeering, a sex trafficking charge in crossing state line for use of property, illegal use of prostitution charge, transporting across the state line. Those were the original. And then they used another victim to come forward, and they added an additional sex trafficking and transporting over state lines for the purpose of illegal sex trafficking. There you go. Mrs. C is here, so we can do the whole thing. All right. So the first thing I want to do is decide which picture of Diddler you guys want to look at for the evening. Okay. So we have this one. Now, that's what we expect the Diddler to look like, right? Yeah. Hello, Janae. Good to see you. This is what he looked like, right? Okay. But, well, let's see. The picture with the red head and the cat ears. Oh, well, yeah. You like that picture, Couch? You can see it, but I am going to bring up the Diddler. Hold on. But I got another one to show Mrs. C here. Nope, not that one. This one. I think she's going to like this one. She wants him crying. I couldn't find one of him crying, Mrs. C. But I did find one from the court artist who actually has him like, this is how he entered court today, in a blue sweater with a white collar. Looks a bit preppy, like he's in college. Very, very gray. He has very much aged, very much. And he's dressed preppy. He probably has some kind of loafer on, because he's not allowed to wear shoes with any kind of laces. But he was allowed to wear regular clothes for court. Okay. This one. Okay, we'll leave this one while I talk then. All right. You got it, Mrs. C. This is the one we're going to leave up then. And what I'll do is I'll just put myself right there while we're talking about him. We'll make it nice and big for you. Okay, I am surprised at how much that he has aged. But then again, he's in one of the toughest jails around, the same one that Luigi Mangione was in, and several other top federal cases. It's federal prison. It's not regular prison, and it's not like nice. Okay, but here we go. All right, so we know the charges. We know what's been going on with the case. Okay, we're in jury selection now for Sean Combs, P. Diddy, the diddler, and it's the second day. It started yesterday. And it's quite interesting, the questions and everything that they're doing and the whole premise of it. But I'm going to give you like just a brief overview of what's been going on. Now, you may recall that Sean Combs' attorneys, one of them is Mark Agnifilo. That's Karen Agnifilo, who represents Luigi Mangione. They're doing it together. They're a husband and wife law team, very high profile in New York. And Mark is the main attorney for Sean Combs, and Karen, his wife, is the main attorney for Luigi Mangione. Other attorneys on Oh, wait, I just had it here a minute ago. Other attorneys that are on the case are one from Terry Garagos, who has a lot of experience in sexual trafficking cases, in a lot of experience. Okay. He's also a partner of the Agnifilo law firm. Okay, he's particularly experienced in defending and investigating allegations of sexual misconduct, according to his firm. Okay, but another attorney, we also know that he has Alexandria Shapiro, very very good. We see her dark hair in a lot of the press conferences, but one who joined the team that I was a little bit surprised, but is also going to be helping with the defense, is Brian Steele, who represented Young Thug. Now, I didn't cover that trial, but some of you may recall one of the longest trials ever in true crime out here on the net, more than 2 years. Okay? 2 years. The Young Thug rapper, and he ended up with a plea deal. Make this make sense? Like 2 years? Okay. Anyway, what a trial that was. I did not go anywhere near that one. It was too crazy by the time I found out about it. I just didn't have the time. Who has that kind of time? So Brian Steele, who represented Young Thug, is also on the team, and some other members of the team include Anna Maria Estavo, Xavier Donaldson, and Jason Driscoll. Needless to say, P. Diddy has a bigger team than even Karen Reed. I mean, I thought Karen Reed had a lot of defense attorneys. I don't know how they're going to find a seat for all of Sean Combs' attorneys, but they will, because the other thing they're going to do is they're shutting the courtroom down pretty much. And the judge in this case, Judge Submarinian, is very conscious of the privacy of the jurors and the witnesses. And he has things locked down tight, including witness lists, anything that I could try to get my hands on. It's usually with a federal case, it's all up there on Pacer, and a lot of it is. But I got to tell you, he's been smacking us down with anything to do with the jury, anything to do with the witnesses, It's crazy. All right. So you're entitled to your one joke there, Garris. Go ahead. But like, try not to do it in caps in case one of my mods decides to exercise the no caps rule during lives thing. Hey, Arnold, nice to see you guys, and welcome everybody that's coming in. Okay, and sorry for the caps. No problem, Garris. You're safe, and thanks for joining us. I do appreciate it. Hey, Arnold, Garris, if you got Twitch IDs, get over to my Twitch account and give me a follow, please. It's free. Don't be lazy. I'm trying to get to 50. Get over there and do your due diligence, please. Thank you very much. Okay, so We know what the attorneys are. We know who the attorneys are, better. But when we're going through right now this jury process, some of the questions that they're asking are rather unique. First of all, we know it's a very, very high profile case. Everybody knows that in the beginning, when that video from CNN dropped from the 2016 incident where P. Diddy laid hands on Cassie Ventura, and it was everywhere. And it is a major piece of evidence in this case. It's also a hotly contended piece of evidence in this case. Defense wants to bring in an expert to say it was altered to make him look worse, to make him look more violent. Okay. They also want to use it to show prejudice, and they also want to hotly contest it. And the fact that Cassie Ventura seems to be victim number one, who is the only one using her name. Subterranean has actually allowed the other three victims to remain as does or using initials or nameless while they present in court. Their names are not to be released anyway, and they will be protected during testimony. We know the courtroom's closed from prying eyes like cameras in the news media, although usually they allow people in. It will be limited. It will be limited. It's a partially closed down courtroom. Now, let's see. Oh, with that video and the mention of Cassie Ventura, I also have to say that that's one of the defense's key points that they're going to bring up is that Cassie Ventura, which is often led to believe that her first civil lawsuit is what started this whole house of cards in the public, rather. I personally believe that the federal investigation must have started way before that because they were ready. Cassie Ventura dropped a civil lawsuit against P. Diddy, naming names, accusing everything. And that seemed to be the benchmark of what all the other civil cases that were filed afterwards. Now, Cassie withdrew that case within a day. The defense plans on bringing in evidence that Cassie Ventura tried to blackmail them into a large amount of money prior, that she was going to drop a memoir. He had stopped paying her. This is the deal. That's going to make victim one look a little bad. Regardless, not to say that anything that happened in her civil lawsuit or her claims of abuse and being coerced aren't valid, because the prosecution's going to bring forward, well, perhaps she was groomed. When they met, he was a gentleman of quite a number of years. And she was quite young, perhaps, 17 or 18. She was legal, nothing illegal there that they're saying. But could she have been groomed? Could the reason she didn't come forward before be that she was in a mental state where she couldn't deal with it? So that's one point that they're going to be arguing back and forth. The other is going to be that nobody actually came forward until Cassie did. And, well, they're going to be using the defense is going to go with the blood in the water, the smell of money defense. And that's a valid point, especially when you're a prominent figure like Sean Combs. Okay. They've also brought forth or tried to bring forth racial profiling, say that, if this was a white guy, he'd be getting a high five instead of a lawsuit. I really don't think there's much to that. There's plenty of older white guys who have taken, advantage of people who have faced these kinds of charges. Hey, they go to jail too. These charges are not racially motivated. Can't blame them for trying. I mean, it works in other cases, so why not? They're going to throw anything they can out. They also tried to use a little bit of the mental health that fame went to his head kind of thing. That didn't really pan out. I saw the motions go back and forth. Most of them are sealed. I don't know what's going to happen with that in court, but we'll be paying close attention to it. There's an angle there that I just don't understand, because when it comes to RICO, the main thing the prosecution is going to be putting forward is that this man was in charge. This man bullied. This man used everything, his money, his power, all the people over him, to coerce people to do what he wants. Violence and sex, whenever. Coerced people to do things what he wanted against their will, Look, guys, he was not of sound mind for well over a decade because of all the drugs. He's a victim. Exactly. Thank you, Arnold, for being well read on the case and helping me along here, because that's exactly what he's doing. It's the fame, it's the drugs, it's the lifestyle. It made me crazy. It's not my fault, man. This happens. Like, what a great defense, right? I mean, yeah, we're all gonna go with that, aren't we? I know I'm being a little lighthearted, but I've missed doing this. Like, trials, I think the defense team and Karen Reed is trying to lull me into submission. I've hit my head on the desk so much out of boredom. I'm about ready to knock myself out, or at least a couple of brain cells, like on the other side. It's been rough, you know, suffering. Yes, Rocket, suffering from success. Yep. And you're absolutely right, Mrs. Cassandra. He is definitely, how dare he get caught? I mean, he's so privileged. He's number one. I know, right? Thank you, Arnold. Tip jar for the only rational, sane coverage of this case that isn't a total clickbait. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a serious compliment. Somebody clip that for me. Thank you. Because, although I am being snarky AF, because this is ridiculous. This is absolutely, some of this is really, really ridiculous. Okay. So prosecution's going to be focusing on, the control, the money. RICO is the main charge. And I think it's the main charge on purpose, because when you've got power, money, and sex, the way to actually nail somebody is follow the money. Okay. In order to do anything that this man wanted to get done, he had to pay people, entice them with the money, jobs, things like that, And whenever money's involved, well, so are weak fortitudes and lack of integrity and, all of that. So more turnover for witnesses in those that'll testify. Save your butt syndrome. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that in this trial. Okay. Well, getting back down to the evidence that they have, besides the 2016 CNN video, which was violent to say the least, we have other videos. Okay. One of the things that we're going to hear a lot about is the videos that they are going to portray, that Cassie Ventura states in her civil lawsuit. And it has been somewhat said in filings from the start that there are tons of videos of these coerced sexual acts made by P. Diddy Diddler and or people in charge or working for him during these sessions. And they're going to be really key, because are we going to see coercion? Are we going to see people drugged? Are we going to be able to tell that they weren't in control? Or does it just look like the defense wants us to believe, that P. Diddy is being persecuted for being a man free with his sexual spirit and having tastes that are just a little bit outside of the norm of what other people would like to see? That because it's out in the public, there's a problem with it. But if it was in the bedroom, nobody would care. Seriously, that's the angle they're taking. He's being prejudiced because he's prolific. Variety. What can I tell you? One of the jury questions is pretty much based around, are you a prude? Do you have any issue with people with alternative, and I'm using my fingers quoting in the air, I know you can't see it because of the avatar, but quote, 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 alternative lifestyles? You're going to be against anything like that? Have you heard a lot about this? Have you seen the CNN video? Almost all of them have. Okay. They're bringing people in big lots, 50, 100, 150 at a time. From what I saw, we got 12 and 16 down, but they are not the jurors yet. They're just the ones that are going to go through the one-on-one questioning, because you get eliminated right away if you've got any of these prejudices. They also had a long list of celebrities. Are you familiar with Jay-Z, Michael B. Jordan, Beyonce, Bieber, Cassie Ventura? They mentioned names. And if you are actually familiar with these names, well, they got you on another list because, like, of course, the prosecution wants people that focus on the fame and are aware, but also have an issue with the breaking law. So they're asking the jurors straight out, exposure to celebrities. One juror got dismissed just because she said right out to the judge, well, I think he's going to get away with it because he could buy his way out of it. Well, of course, you're not going to be on the jury. Another one said that the media coverage has been so strong, he's already made up his mind. Actually referencing the civil lawsuit, something along the lines of, well, there wouldn't be 150 lawsuits if he didn't do anything wrong. This case is going to be tough to get a jury for. It's been everywhere, okay? And it's okay to know about the case. And we've seen plenty of juries get sit in public cases like this where everybody knows a little bit of something. But the important part is whether or not they can still remain unbiased until they see the evidence, that they will follow the rules, the laws of juries, the serious responsibility. One of the most serious responsibilities that an American has, to sit jury duty for law and order, to remain unbiased, to see all the evidence, to make sure that if he does get a conviction or a verdict of guilty, that it's beyond reasonable doubt that the federal government actually proves their case against him. Well, they do ask about the kind of music you like. Like anyone who said they were really a fan of rap or they thought it was violent. And here's the thing, because that's another angle. And thank you, Couch, because you're helping keeping me with my notes here, because I sometimes forget to look at my notes. But one of them was that in the questions that are there is the type of music you listen to and what you think about rap or the hip hop industry in general. And most of them said it was violent. Well, you really don't want that person on the jury because these charges against him all relate to some types of violence, coercion. I mean, we're talking about cars getting blown up and, people getting strong-armed and people being threatened to throw them off a balcony. And these are just some of the things I read. Most of the charges relate to some types of violence, Even if the videos don't clearly show the victims under the influence, I'm sure identifying what age they were when the incident took place will all be the proof needed to prove this. You know what, Carolyn? That is a good point, except for one part. In this case, in the federal case, which is the first case, not related to any of the civil cases, except for it has a lot of the same kind of charges and some of the same players. However, it has absolutely does not have anything about no consent or underage in this lawsuit. Federal government does not prove that at all. They have to prove coercion. They're going to prove that these people were altered and that they were put in untenable positions. The actual sex charges are sex trafficking, meaning he drugged people that he paid or coerced to be there to perform sex acts for gain of other things, to entice other musicians, to get contracts, for trade for them to get their own contract. Trafficking, okay? Trafficking in itself is non-consent. We know that. There's an ulterior thing going on here. There's coercion. There's all this threats, whatever, captivity, all of that. But as far as minors, not a one. Now, that in the civil cases, there's been quite a bit of that. One I actually covered, one of the only civil cases I covered that involved Jay-Z also, mostly because of Jay-Z's lawyer, Mr. Shapiro, who I'm just a big fan of, that little gray suited shark. I really am. So I covered it because he did a damn good job bringing them to their knees. And the truth is that there's really not much credibility to that witness. If she was underage and she did go to that concert, which it is very unlikely that she did, there was no substance to that lawsuit whatsoever. It was easily vetted to be false by the statements that she made, and she did an interview and that all got taken down. And that's the one that I know that was, minor, What's missing there? Right at the bottom of the screen. Do you notice it? Oh, God. Here we go. You mean this? Okay. Sorry there. Thanks, couch. Do I have to do the YouTube things? I mean, come on. You know I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Some of the other things that hey, dude, welcome to Murder Minions. I hope you like it here. I hope you like it here, Arnold. I am glad to see you. Oh, I can't wait for him to take the stand. I think he is such a narcissist egomaniac that he's going to do it. For a control freak, you might be right, but he's got how many? 8, 9 lawyers? They would hate. If I was his lawyer, I would hog tie him to keep him off the stand. The last thing he needs to do is open his mouth in this trial. Do you guys agree? I mean, we've watched a lot of trials together. It does not go well at all if they take the stand. We watched Alex Murdaugh in his ego take that stand, thinking he's just gonna convince everybody he couldn't possibly do it. He even admitted to 110 financial crimes right there on the stand. I did all of that. I'm awful. I'm a druggie. I disappointed the whole world, but I did not murder my family. And that jury said, yeah, you did. Oh, yeah, you did. It didn't work. We seen Amber Heard take the stand, cry her eyes out. Another, and I'm only mentioning her, well, personally, because she's one of my favorite narcissist border personality disorder people to ever take a stand. My, was that some content? She is the epitome of why you should keep your mouth shut. You cannot keep anybody, the jury, you can't fool them. They don't know you. They don't care who you are. They're looking at you. And when they're looking at you, they're looking at you. Like they're looking at you like you've never been seen before. Like you can't hide. You can't hide from a jury. Okay? No. It's not a good idea. It would be great entertaining, but I really don't want him to take the stand. One, it's not in his best interest. Two, because we don't get to see it, Arnold. What crushing would that be if he actually took the stand and we didn't get to see it? Like, that's nightmare fuel. Like, that would not be cool. It's really not a good idea for him at all. So, let me just refer to my notes a little bit here. It's been a while since I talked about P. Diddy. And, I have to thank Mrs. Cassandra. I wasn't going to cover this. I mean, I am not into like all of those civil lawsuits and all of that. They are ridiculous upon ridiculous. I'm not saying that there are not victims of P. Diddy. Obviously, there are. But the way I think a civil lawsuit is just to make a point and make some money. Like you just want to smack somebody down and get some money for doing it. When criminal offenses happen, you really need to file criminal charges. Most all of those civil lawsuits are anywhere from 15 to 30 years old when the offenses kind of happen. The ones that are here in the federal case are based pretty much on the civil lawsuit claims, and some of them actually do have civil lawsuits also, but they are within a range that they could file them. And also under these rules, because there's not going to be with RICO, there's no really statute of limitations in regards to how far they get to go back. Remember, the RICO laws were meant to ensnare gangsters, which would have lifelong criminal activity. They wanted to use everything to ensnare them. So it's a little bit looser, and it's a smarter case to actually present. It's violent, and it will have justice for the victims. And it will also get a predator off the streets if they prove that he's actually guilty of all of this. So it's a win. It's a win-win. Not to mention they get to seize all of those assets, which could be a bit enticing to the federal government. Like if we're going to have to prosecute him and put all this money out, we should get something for it. And they would, because anything that is actually found to be ill-gotten gain and growth through RICO, if you're convicted of RICO, then it all belongs to them. It all belongs to the government now. Mm-hmm. It goes. Everything gets seized because you're not allowed to keep it. A la Andrew Tate. Oh, that's another one I have to update. Hey, Tube. Oh, you found a Mallory emote. I can't do emotes yet because I don't have 50 people. Spread the word. I need. Okay. You really wanted Lori to take the stand? We're going to talk about her next. You may actually get your oh, lovely. That's good. A bear, a chihuahua, and a couch walk into a bar. I want to hang out in that bar. I think if bear and the chihuahua tube and couch were in a bar, we'd be having a great time. You know. Gary says, I feel like America is half a step away from pay-per-view court trials. Yes. Why not? Why not? Right? Who is my better audience, Twitch or YouTube? And why is it not where Tube is? I have a larger audience on YouTube if you see my numbers, but most of my views are post. I do have a couple of very wonderful people who come to the chats and keep me company and keep this going, and I love to do it, but most everything's done post view on YouTube. And Twitch don't like me. Twitch is not ready for me. I think I'm one of the only people doing this kind of content out on Twitch. Oh. Oh, yes, that's right, Tube. It's me. This is me. Yes, it's the bear. Yep. The otter lady from where we hang out. That would be it, Arnold. It would be it would be a bear who thinks she's an otter, a chihuahua named Tube, and a couch fond of rockets hang out in the bar. That would be great. Will you do at least one daily brief update stream on this? I'd totally rather follow it here than anywhere else. YouTube is full of clickbait. I will tell you that I will have at least 2 a week. That's normally what I do. It will be a short one on the Tuesdays, and usually at the end of the week on Friday, you sum up the whole week in trial. Trial starts, Arnold, on May 12th for opening statements. I will pull together everything I can and watch my channel, because if I can get any of those opening statements, clips or whatever, I will put something together, So there. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. And thank you for the compliment. Thank you for the compliment. Okay. So, in regards to jury selection, this is going to be quite the process. They've got like about 28 people so far, but they have to go through voir dire. And some of the key issues, like I told you, are going to be, are they approved, their exposure to rap music, what they feel about celebrities. Okay. But now there's also going to be things about knowledge of the illegality of RICO and things like that. Some people dismissed, like I said, the one juror right away, because she thought because P. Diddy was rich, like he wasn't going to go to jail. He could buy his way out of this. Like I said, she's out of there pretty quick. But when you think about it, when we think about prosecuting people from the, let's say, the 10%, all of those who rule the world that have all the money that we don't and all the power that we wish we did, those people, the ones up there, not like all of us down here, those ones up there. When they go on trial or they're accused of anything, isn't it what we think? Like there's going to be a double standard. Like definitely. Like if any of us were on these same charges for P. Diddy, no, yeah, we wouldn't be able to buy our way. We wouldn't have 9 lawyers. We would have all those lawyers from all those different expertise, I mean, the Agnew Phillips law firm is one of the top in the nation. Okay, 2 of the hottest federal cases in the country right now, P. Diddy and Luigi Mangione, are being managed by that law firm. Yeah. And they ain't messing around. The guy from the Young Thug, he's no lightweight, Garagos, he does these sexual crimes against celebrities. Like, he's good. He is very good. Now, here's the thing. They got to be careful, though, because witnesses have sexual victims of sexual assault or victims of any kind of crime involving sex, including sex trafficking, whether coerced, not, consent, whatever, they have rights. And in court, you got to be careful not to be slamming them too hard. So even though you think that they're just making stuff up or whatever, there are certain rights you can only go so far. There's like a push and pull inside the courtroom between the defense and the prosecution, with the judge in the middle, making sure that both sides' rights are protected at all times. So just remember, the judge's law and the defense and the prosecution, they're the storytellers. Okay, they're the ones that are on there. It's like a debate team. Who has the better argument? Who has the better story? Who has the evidence? It's going to be the prosecution's job to bring all the evidence and prove their case. Defense doesn't have to do anything. The defense could literally sit there and do not a thing for the whole trial and just let the federal government try to prove their case and see what the jury thinks, because you don't have to do a thing on the defense. But it does appear that they will be applying a defense. They are going to be bringing in experts in regards to the videos. They are also, wait till you hear this. They are bringing in, as the consultant for whether what P. Diddy did sexually with people and his lifestyle and everything and all of this, and whether manipulation has occurred and whether consent was there. They're bringing in the psychologist from the Me Too movement that they used in the Amber Heard case, not the one that Johnny Depp used, Miss Curry. Oh my God, and I have such a thing about this woman that I can't even remember her name. But there was a lot of pushback about her being in biased, very biased, because of her one-sided opinion of the whole situation about the victim. It's always the guy's fault. It's always the abuse. Like, she looked for everything. She never even interviewed Johnny Depp. She just looked at some of the stuff, but she used catchphrases that they used over and over again in trials. And I was not very fond of this. Her name. Oh my God. Dawn Hughes, that's it. Sorry, guys. I had to find it really quick in papers, and then I couldn't even find it in my notes. I had to Google it. Oh no, isn't that exciting, Rocket Couch? We get to see Dawn Hughes again. Actually, I'm kind of glad I don't have to listen to her. She so annoyed me. She, you know what? She's probably thinks she's really good at what she does, but she's pigeonholed herself into a little box, and she makes it really easy for the opposite side to pick it apart, because she's very narrow-minded in the scope of her psychological evaluations. It's always the abuser did it. Yep, yep, he did it. Yep, yep, it's him. I don't say that lightly. I don't. But her career, yes, that's what it was. I mean, she's a paid hired expert to slam. But here's the twist. She's working for the defense. You heard that right. I didn't make that up. I'm not even trying to pull the wool over your eyes. She literally is an expert witness on the defense's side. She will be twisting the tables to show how he doesn't fit the profile. Good luck, Dawn Hughes, because how does anybody look at this case and say that this powerful man who liked to have freak offs, who had thousands of bottles of baby oil, for what purpose, Dawn Hughes, if he doesn't fit the profile? For what purpose? He's got dry skin? He likes that silky glow. I mean, he didn't want to be too ashy or anything. Like, what? Thousands of boxes, testimony, affidavits for people that work for him, where champagne bottles were expected to be altered by some kind of substance. Okay. Drinks, as soon as you get there, everybody handed a drink as soon as they get there. Yeah, right, Couch? It's exciting, isn't it? Like, it's going to be interesting. Exactly. The judge is going to be the referee. I'm just reading back on some of the chat here. But yeah, I also thought that was tantalizing, and you guys would want to know that having something to reference her to, and actually the flip for her to be on the defense was quite interesting. Very, very interesting. But anyway, any questions in regards to this case that you want to bring up before I move on? Because I do have to do a little bit of Lori Vallow, because you're not going to believe this. I have a little bit of a clip to show you. Okay. Yeah. But we will be doing updates on this case. We're only in the second day of jury selection. We should have a jury by the end of the week. They are moving quickly. They will get to voir dire. I think they have one more group to go over. Then they're going to do voir dire. They are going to try to sit 12 plus alternates, of course, for federal court. And, well, he's looking at a lot of sentencing. I mean, he's looking at 30 to 40 years if everything goes through, like a life sentence, And based on how much he's aging in jail, he is 55 years old. Okay. 30 years is going to be the rest of his life if he gets it. Okay. And based on, depending on how the witnesses testify, we got to worry about mitigating and aggravating factors. Multiple witnesses, multiple victims, rather. The egregious acts of the case, the coercion, the threats, the violence, the violent nature of some of it. If all of that does get proved, I would definitely think he's going to get the max in most. Especially since they also have some gun wielding charges in here. Remember, PDiddy does not exactly have a clean history, and there's been some back and forth on whether that's going to come in, under 404B, on whether we're going to actually see any of that come in. But if the door gets opened where one of the witnesses says he was wielding a gun, well, that's open door, and you could. There were some cases that he wasn't actually convicted of, but he was mentioned in quite a few. Some of us might remember that one with J-Lo, and J-Lo actually didn't eventually put out an interview where she said he forced her to carry a gun in her purse for him. Several of the women he dated said so. Now, in fairness, we have to say that the defense is going to say that every one of these encounters was consensual and willing and should not be judged because now everyone has sour grapes. These people have all moved on. They're no longer part of his life. Everybody's looking for a handout. That's going to be the defense's angle. Prosecution's angle, simply put, is that he used his power and his aggressive nature to get what he wanted, and he's a bit of a pervert. Period. He used money, muscle in his position of authority to abuse not only his personal relationships with women, but also with his employees and also those contracting with his record company. Because there are not just women that he was involved with on a one-on-one, like in a relationship with. There are just women in general throughout the industry. There are even gentlemen that work with him that say it. It goes across the board. That's why I say they're going to say he's a bit of a pervert. But there we go. All right. Enough of him. Enough of him. Okay. I'm going to spare you. Wait, is that the one? Yep, this is the one. I'm going to spare you. We're not putting up a picture of Lori. I'll go something really quick to read, and then I want to play you a video. Okay. We thought we were done with court filings for at least this case. Lori Vallow Daybell out of Arizona, the doomsday mom who's already got 3 life sentences for conspiring and contributing to the murders of Ty Lee and Jay Lee, her JJ, her children, and the wife, Tammy Daybell, of her current husband, Chad Daybell, who is also in Idaho in jail with a life sentence, a death sentence, awaiting. They were convicted under the death penalty. Lori Vallow faced the death penalty charges in the beginning for those 3 conspiracy to commit murder charges, the same ones that Chad Daybell is guilty of. But her death penalty part was dropped because of some prosecutorial timing errors in filing for, speedy trial. So that was the concession. Death penalty was off the table through a motion of the attorneys. And it was a thing. Otherwise, she'd be on death row too, because Idaho still does have the death penalty. Now, the recent trial we went through with Lori Vallow Daybell was for the conspiracy to commit the murder of her then husband, Charles Vallow, in 2019, which her brother Alex confessed to shooting in self-defense, and she was convicted. Evidence proved conspiracy according to the jury, but that's not the problem. We have a major problem, Houston, because as you'll see here, the Honorable Justin Boreski put out this minute entry. The court received an email on April 24th of 2025, forwarded from a court employee who was contacted about a video of a juror's post-verdict juror interview, which can be viewed starting at approximately 6 hours in one. And this comes from the channel that I used for the feed, so we've all seen it, and I'm going to play it for you in a minute. This minute entry is intended to simply advise the parties that this information has been provided to the court. The court requests that Ms. Daybell's advisory counsel or investigator provide Ms. Daybell with access to this video before 10 a.m. on April 29, 2025. It is ordered directing the clerk of the court to file that email e-docket. And apparently she did receive it. Okay, we take that part down. Would you all like to see now what the problem is? Because Houston, we definitely have a problem. Oh, now that's not the one. Hold on. Stop that. Y'all got famous for a second there. That's not the one I want. This is the one I want. And thank you, Wrecker, for building this beast. Because, man, I've got so many tabs right now open. This was impossible the way I used to do this show. But thanks to you, I can keep track of it all now. All right, here we go. Let me make sure the volume is up. I would like to introduce you to juror number 12, who just threw a monkey wrench in this whole damn thing. It's about a minute or two long. Bear with me. It gets really juicy at the end.
Or when you went into deliberation, were you still unsure?
Well, I was unsure up until yesterday, really. And then through deliberation, I mean, that's the whole purpose of it is, to bring out the evidence and talk about every facet of it that we can understand. So, yeah, that's yesterday I was still on the fence.
Was it just maybe the magnitude of how big this decision was?
Hold one second. For context, I'd like to tell you that this is immediately after the verdict when they left the courthouse. This is the reporters immediately when they were leaving after verdict that we all watched together, where Lori Vallow was convicted. This is right after that, like round, what was it, like late afternoon, So it's the same day of verdict. And that's important for as we go on.
Or maybe the lack of evidence, the missing pieces. What was it?
For me, it was, where is the proof of conspiracy? I mean, the bullet's over there, the bat's over there, there's a hole there, none of that has anything to do with conspiracy. It has everything to do with Alex shot him. All right. So my big thing was, if you're going to say something, how does that go along with the conspiracy to commit murder? That was my big thing. And like I said, it was the text that threw me.
Was there a specific text message?
There were two specific ones, but I'm not sure I should talk about them.
Yeah. And because we've seen, a lot of this evidence too. Does that make that any different for you or not?
Can you tell me what evidence you saw on the text messages? There was one that had something to do with insurance. That was one of them. And the other one was basically the Nephi thing. So.
Now that you know that so many people that were talked about in this case are dead, did you know that originally, or that's what you're?
I had never heard of Lori Daybell before I got picked for this jury. I'd never, because I watch Fox News, but I don't watch Fox News 10. I watch Fox News. 'Cause different shows that are on. But
That's the
I
actual
don't
reporter's
watch
laughing. Okay.
NBC or CBS or anything like that. So I didn't know. No, I had no idea of any
Now
of
when you're realizing the magnitude of this case, what's kind of going
That's
through
Kinsey.
It's just wow. That's all I can say. Just it's huge.
Yeah. Do you remember your reaction learning that she has been convicted in killing her 2 children?
You know, I feel sorry for her. You know, I mean, I'm driving home yesterday. I'm just like, God, she's spending the next 3 lives in prison in a cell. You know, I mean, you got to feel sorry for her, even though I mean, that's awful thing to do. I mean, there's something wrong up here, but what he said, still, you know, you just feel awful about it. But
And you said it was the text messages that really changed it for you. You were confident in that decision going forward.
absolutely confident. Once we talked about those particular text messages, absolutely confident, 100%.
So you said it was the text message about the insurance, and then the one where she said that his soul is already dead or something along those lines.
It was the kind of like everything's coming to a head. Soon you'll be Nephi, and so will I. That was one of the texts, and then the other one was he changed the beneficiary basically before we got to him, before we made him gone. So that was the other one.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. Nice to meet you.
Did you hear what he said? Did you catch it? This man literally said, when I was driving home yesterday thinking about the 3 life sentences she's facing. I'm paraphrasing here. I felt sorry for her. Crikey. They weren't supposed to know about the Idaho case. He said he didn't know about the Idaho case. He just admitted, how could he possibly be thinking about it the night before if he didn't know about the Idaho case? Whoops. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I do not know what's going to happen, but I know that Lori Vallow was all over it. She's already filed her motion to dismiss and brought up a whole bunch of stuff. And not just this. This is jury misconduct. This is not okay, because we all know that Judge Boreski asked them every day when they came in, when they took a break, when they came back from lunch, before they left for the day, reminding them if they saw anything in regards to anything that they needed to report it to the court. And that happens during deliberations also. So when this man actually learned that fact, we don't know. We know that he just testified in an interview or made a statement. He's not testified, he's not sworn in, but he made a statement right here for all the world to see, whether he meant it that way or not, saying that the day before they convicted her guilty, the day before the jury put their final deliberations in and gave that slip to the judge, that he was driving home feeling sorry for Lori Vallow because she was in prison for 3 life sentences. I know he did his job as a jury guy, you know, but man, did he just make a real mess for this case. Judge can't do anything but report it. He did the same thing. Somebody sent in the clip. As soon as it was said, did you hear those people? They went, what did he say? Did he just say? I mean, besides them laughing because they were from Fox 10, and he was saying, I listen to Fox 5. I don't listen to Fox 10. And actually, it's Fox 10 that's interviewing him and playing the clip. So they were all giggling. And then he said that, and they were like, did he just say, what did? But you know what? They were very clever. They didn't play it up. They didn't do like a breaking bulletin. They didn't announce it anywhere. They didn't even discuss it because this was right in the Fox 10 post-verdict show where Justin Lom, the reporter, he had everybody up. They were all talking about stuff. He had guests there. None of them touched it because they know how bad this is. They know that this has to be dealt with by the court. This is definitely Lori's in to get a brand spanking new trial, because even if they bring him in for direct juror questioning, that is one of the options. The judge can bring everybody in, and Lori and the prosecution get to query him, and the judge gets to query him. We saw that in the murder trial. Okay, we saw that. They bring in a judge to look at it. They may bring a new judge in. They may just let Judge Bresky do it. But Judge Bresky, for this part with the juror, is not actually indicated in the misconduct, but in some of the other things that Lori's going to be bringing up. And let me just bring that up also. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But I am going to give you a shareable link that you can read it yourself if you haven't already read it in my Discord. Where is the other one? Here it is. Okay. I'll get this one up. Okay, so Lori's paralegal with Lori, Annalena Ramirez, which is the paralegal, has filed this to Judge Beresky for the motion for a new trial. Now, we have a hearing on her second trial coming up for the attempted murder of her former nephew-in-law, Brandon Bardot. There's a date of May 12th. I think this might be adjusted, done before that, but I haven't seen anything else. Okay. The juror misconduct is definitely in regards, you can see it right here, to exhibit clip 10 from Fox 10 News, which I just played for you in its entirety. That's what she has. Okay. Because this case was a high profile matter, once the jury was released from its absolution, jurors were free to speak to the media. During an interview, Juror 15 was asked about his reaction upon learning about this defendant's prior convictions. He stated, I feel sorry for her. Driving home yesterday, I was like, God, she's spending the next 3 lives in prison in a cell. Ouch, 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 ouch. Okay. She also is going to go on. She's very upset. Preclusion of Tylee Ryan and Alex Cox statements and impermissible expert testimony by Detective Daniel Coons. Remember, they would not let him, he did not come in. He was the one that had the case in the beginning, but it was given to somebody else. She wanted him because she wanted him to talk about, interviewing directly with Tylee and directly with Alex Coons, because he did those interviews and they were one-on-one. The detective that we saw on the stand is the one who took over the case after Daniel Coons had moved on to another position, okay, in another location. And so she didn't have the opportunity. And she would have had the opportunity had she subpoenaed him properly and brought him forth. She could have done that. But she's saying that because the judge followed the rules and she didn't have proper procedure, she could have put him on his witness list. She can't force the prosecution to subpoena him and put them on their list, which is what she's trying to say, that because that's prejudicial, because the judge ruled that she didn't get all of this together and bring it forward in a timely manner. She didn't follow through with any of her discovery that we all know about because we watched it. She wanted to be pro se. That's a choice she made. These are, he kind of tried to educate her the whole time, telling her the risks about time. She also wanted speedy trial. She was adamant about it. Oh my God, if she would have said anything more about the rights to her damn speedy trial, she was driving us crazy. It came out constantly. We're like, get over it. Get over it. Just stop. It was not in her best interest, but she can do what she wants. She's in charge of her defense. That's what she wanted. But these are the consequences. She wasn't able to get her discovery together. She's in maximum security. 23 hours. She has 1 hour freedom of day. She has limited visitation. She has an investigator and a paralegal and 2 advisory counsel, Hicks and Abernathy, that can help, but she has to ask them. And she has to tell them what to do. And she has to motivate it. And I don't really see any motivation from her investigator. I mean, he's the one that wouldn't even go through the terabytes of evidence to pull out what she wanted. She had an expert witness that she took forever to get together. And when he did review things, the judge reviewed what he said, and there was no information or anything to fight about. So he didn't allow it in. The judge is the law here. And unfortunately, Lori Daybell is suffering from not knowing enough about the law. She can ask the questions, but if she doesn't ask the right questions, she doesn't get the answers that she needs to direct her in the direction she needs to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, she just doesn't have enough knowledge. She thinks she's smarter than she is. And I guess what does she have to lose? She's already in jail for 3 life sentences. I mean, it's not like it's a matter of life and death anymore. How many lives do you have? And to hear her talk about it in her interviews, it doesn't matter anyway, because she's been to heaven and she knows none of this matters. She said it clearly. None of this matters. Call me a murderer. Do whatever. None of this matters. I've been to heaven. I know the truth. Period. But she's going to throw everything but the kitchen sink. I would imagine that most of these will get denied. So she's going to go for that issue. The second issue is the discovery violation. She's talking about the great key data from the Vallow cell phone. She wanted it in the original format. It doesn't exist anymore. There's been numerous updates since 2019. They had the reports because if you get into the technical stuff, like we do in most of the cases about Celebrite and all these other companies, when you do the extraction, it's not in a format that you can understand. It needs separate application to put it into reports and stuff, and to search and stuff. And she's complaining because she wanted that original extraction. Okay. She was given access to the phone to get that original extraction. And then her expert said, yes, I could get the original extraction. However, because of the new updates to the software, it will not appear completely the way it did in 2019, which is true, because there's automatic deletion. We learned just recently in Karen Reed that Celebrite updated. So now that if you go and put a search in an open search bar that's been open from hours before, it will delete the next search, the timestamp of the old open browser. Okay. And it will just put it where it belongs to be, where before it used to secure it there and secure it down when it actually happened. It would have 2 timestamps. Very confusing, especially in law cases. I mean, that was an error that shouldn't have happened, and Celebrite fixed it. But now it won't appear that way. We just saw a demonstration on how it happened and everything in the court. Totally understandable. But basically, this one is not going to hold, because there's no way that Trina K has a discovery violation if she can't go back in time and create something that doesn't exist. That at the time, if the grayscale was asked for at the time, it could have been produced, or at least motioned back and forth for production during discovery. But there wasn't one. There wasn't one. So how is it a discovery violation when everything that they were going to use, because that's what discovery is about, all of the information that they have that they're going to use to try, was presented? Okay. Nothing they can do about that. Prosecutorial misconduct. Oh. This one's interesting because this happened during trial. She's saying that on April 8th, prosecutorial misconduct of Trina K, the state elicited irrelevant, prejudicial, and improper character evidence when she asked Chandler Fire Captain Keller if he overheard any conversations with this defendant. Miss Trina K asked Captain Keller on direct examination, did you overhear this defendant talking with police? He responded in the affirmative, stating he overheard someone saying, not getting invited to a pool party because of the commotion at the house or something. This statement caught this defendant off guard, as Captain Keller indicated during his interviews with Chandler police just after this incident occurred that he only saw the male outside on the curb and did not mention even seeing this defendant. Well, maybe he wasn't asked the question. Okay, this happens a lot. The defense will try to say, you didn't bring it up. When you're in an affidavit in an interview, it is based on question and answer. You are asked questions and you give answers. You give the best recollection of an event that you can, if allowed to give narrative, but there are questions to prompt for the rest of it. Because he didn't remember seeing her there until asked directly the question does not mean it's prosecutorial misconduct, because it was disclosed before trial. During the closing arguments, While addressing the justification defenses, Ms. Trina K told the jury that this defendant was not entitled to any of these self-defense instructions. Ms. Trina also gave false statements by saying Alex had no reason to be at this defendant's home and that this defendant told Alex to bring a gun. No, that's a misstatement right there that I'm sure the judge is going to pick up. The prosecution, and you guys that filed the case with me, you know, she never said that Lori told him to bring the gun. She said Alex brought a gun to Lori Vallow's house. Why? That Lori knew he brought the gun and that she found it odd because they had a child with autism in the house. It wasn't in a gun box. That she did say. She did not say Lori instructed him to bring the gun. She left that for the jury to decide if in planning this demise of her husband, which she's being charged of, conspiracy to commit the murder, that they made those arrangements by phone call or something. That was up to the jury to put 2 and 2 together. Trina King never said that. Like, she's going to have a hard time proving that. Okay. Finally, Miss Trina K commented several times on this defendant's demeanor during the incident. Drive to the police station on body camera. You did not see her cry in that interview. Why is that prosecutorial misconduct? That is a statement of fact. That's a statement of mind. That is a statement of attitude. That is everything Lori Vallow did in his interviews while in police custody, just like every one of us, if we are talked to by the police, is admissible into evidence. You cry, you don't cry, you say hello, you say goodbye, whatever. It's admissible as long as you've been given Miranda, and she was. Okay. The court precluded this defendant. Oh, no, she wasn't given Miranda because she wasn't a suspect at the time. She was a witness, but they still got to use it because of, my note here, third party, meaning somebody actually saw it and they're allowed to say it. It's not hearsay because they saw it or they heard it. And they are actually active in the investigation. They are the first responder. They are somebody involved with the case. They are a person who interviewed her, like the detectives that came in. Okay, the court's lack of impartiality. This is going to piss off the judge. The court precluded this defendant from presenting a defense by striking her witnesses, including but not limited to Nate Eaton, the reporter from East Idaho News, and Brandon Bardot, who she's actually up on charges against, before they were even called to the stand. They had no relevant information to give. She never presented a motion on what their statements would be. She had not filed a subpoena on them and had not done interviews on them or given any information to the state in regards to discovery of those interviews. That is why they were precluded. Then the judge took an extra step and he actually said, tell me what evidence they're going to bring forward, what you'll be enticing from them. For Nate Eaton, he interviewed all of my family in Idaho. That was not relevant to this case. He knows all of the people involved. That is not relevant to the case, nor is that evidence. I mean, she was trying to do a go-round and take the easy way, but anything Nate Eaton would have said would have been hearsay. He can't say Kay Woodcock said this, Colby Ryan said this, Tylee said this, Chad Daybell said. He can't. That's hearsay. He can't testify to what other people said to him. He can't. Unless it's in regards to a crime, their crime, not hers. Brandon Bardot, she's up on another court case with him. When asked what information he would bring, well, he was colluding with my husband and my brother to do an intervention. He knew about it. Okay. Well, how does them wanting to do an intervention with her, how does that show self-defense? Like, okay, that actually shows a little bit more of conspiracy. I mean, I think the judge did her a favor here. If Brandon Bardot was allowed to testify and said that he knew that they were going to be doing this intervention and that she was off the charts livid about it, talking to his wife, that would have went really badly for her. I actually think the judge did her a favor here, and I think she's a bit off her rocker to actually bring this up against the judge. Okay. During cross-examination of a civilian witness, Serena Sharp, in relation to testimony regarding religious beliefs, the court commented during the prosecutor's objection to relevancy, saying, "I guess to the extent that you are comparing yourself to these biblical figures, I will allow it." He did say that. He actually allowed questioning that Lori was doing. The prosecution was trying to get her not to talk about it and not to ask those questions. And yet now she's picking on the judge for allowing it, saying that it was relevant because she was comparing herself, because she says that she's been chosen by God and that she is like Nephi, and she's comparing herself to certain things in the book. And that's a valid statement. He thought that it did have some credibility, since she could ask, since they were both from the same religion, and she could compare and try to make her side of the argument relevant into the case. He was actually helping her here, and she's turning this against. I mean, I don't think he's gonna. I hope on the legally, I don't think that that's gonna come in. Okay, so because of these issues, she's saying that she needs a new trial. Not me. Not I, says the bear. Not I. Do I think so? No. Do I think for the jury on that one single issue, we're going to get a new trial? We don't have a choice. It is locked down tight. There's no choice. We know if there's any type of conflict, if there's any shenanigans whatsoever, to keep that to be the most pristine process we possibly can. Judge has no choice. There's definitely going to definitely be a new trial. I believe I'm going to make that nickel bet. Anybody can bet me a nickel or OO money or anything on that. But that's where I'm at with that. Okay. For those of you that want to read this in its entirety, there you go. That's it. That's my 2 cases for the day in an hour in 45. Sorry I was so long-winded, but there really was a lot here that I wanted to get out. We found Lori to be quite unprepared for her defense. As far as the record shows, she will be still pro se and defending herself in the Brandon Bordeaux conspiracy for attempted murder charges in Arizona. And that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And I don't know if we're going to watch it every day. I don't know. She's quite intense. I think I should run a poll. I will be tired by then. I get that. But the next one is in August, and that's Kohlberger, and I'm going to need like a real vacation. That one's going to be months and months and months. I doubt I'll cover every day of the Kohlberger case, to be honest, because when you have 6-hour hearings over the motions with that defense team, and you find yourself just glazed over and unable to communicate for the rest of the night, it's kind of a sign that you might not want to cover it every single day. It's a very popular case. There's going to be information out there. I can do clips. I can do summations. I can make it enjoyable for you, but I doubt we're going to be sitting here for 8 hours a day being lulled into brain mush by some of this back and forth. It gets to be a bit much. I am doing Karen Reed because it's interesting and the shenanigans are present, and I wanted to see the evidence for myself, and I'm fascinated by Hank Brennan. I'll tell you, that's my hook. Like, he was Whitey Bulger's defense attorney. And I'm just fascinated by his subtle killers, fucking Sharknado style. Like, he comes in like a joke, and it is like, boom, boom, boom. He just dismantles your case. And I'm watching it. And I'm watching this style, and I'm fascinated. Plus, there was all the PR shenanigans, with the rest of the defense team, some pretty high-profile lawyers. I don't see much lawyering. I see a lot of like theater. Let's just call it that. There's a lot of theater on the defense side that I see. Yes, did she give you a headache? Yes, she did. She does, Mrs. Cassandra. So I don't think I'll be. So we may cover Lori again. We'll put up some polls and go forward with that. But it looks like we might have 2 more trials because legally, I don't see with the juror, what could he say? I mean, what do you guys think? And let me just ask you before I leave for the night. What could he say to justify what he said? They didn't go on a lunch break. He didn't misspeak and mean like that afternoon. He said the night before. He said it pretty clearly. I really don't think that there's any way around this one. I don't know. Couch says, theater, fancy name for bullying. Yes, heckle, harassment, bullying. Yep, Mrs. Cassandra, nothing you can see. I know, me either. Me either. Mrs. Cassandra, I hope you enjoyed your Diddy update. I had you in mind the whole time when I was writing my notes, what you would want to hear about. So I hope I covered everything you might be interested in. And if I didn't, please hit the back of the video, everyone, with your comments in regards to these two cases or any of the 23 are covering or any in the world that I'm not. I mean, I'm interested. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to know good or bad. How can we improve it? How we can make it better for you? Questions you have on things I've said or didn't say in regards to a case, questions in regards to a case. I like to do the research and I want to get you the information. And so on that, I'm going to get ready to say goodnight. Not going to be a 20-minute goodnight. Sorry, Mrs. Cassandra. I'm going to cut it short. But I will see everyone following the Karen Reed trial tomorrow morning again, a little before 9 o'clock with a cup of coffee, ready to go forward with our next witnesses, And for the rest of the week, I do have Saturday. I think we might be doing something either Friday or Monday. I might do another true crime on Friday. It depends on what's going on and what I can find out. Even if we just do a short one on the status of PDiddy or anything that happens with Lori Vallow, there are so many other there's still updates on Brian Kohlberger and Luigi Mangione. There was a federal hearing. I really want to touch base on that one. I got a lot to say about that. Oh, I got a lot to say about that. It's going to take more than like 30 minutes. Well, Saturday we'll be doing the 50th Law with our buddy Wrecker, covering the 50th Law by 50 Cent and Robert Greene, and we're on chapter 6. And then on Sunday morning, we've got episode 2 of Black Mirror. I'm so excited. And Culture Cats will be joining me for that. For Bête Noire, we're going to do, the black one. Okay, we're going to do the dark one with Cats on early Sunday morning, my time. It'll be around 2 o'clock UK time. And for all you other time zones, figure it out. I'm in EST. Okay, so on that, we could be doing a hang Sunday night if we don't do anything Friday night. Well, we'll see how it goes. But on that, I'm going to say goodnight. Everybody, thank you for joining me again after a long day. And I'll see some of you in the morning. Be well. Don't forget, like, share, comment. And if you have a Twitch account, it's free. Please go give me a follow. Please. I'm trying to get to 50. I want to make bear emotes and otter emotes and trial emotes and things like that. I want to make the channel fancy. I really don't care about all the other stuff. I just want to make it pretty. Yep. All right. Good night, everybody.